Ole Miss have produced some outstanding wide receivers in the past few draft classes, and Tre Harris might be the next guy to come out of the school and light up the NFL. But he'll be hoping that he's going to be more DK Metcalf or AJ Brown than Jonathon Mingo. However, with the size, speed, and strength to succeed on the outside, he is an exciting player coming in to play X in the NFL. So let's take a little look at him as a prospect and see how I found watching his film. So, Tre Harris is a little bit of an older prospect. We are still seeing the ramifications of COVID as he played 5 years in college, starting off at Louisiana Tech. He's a Louisiana native and then transferred to Ole Miss for the 2023 season. It was incredibly exciting. He started off with his first ever game with 133 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns against Mercer. So, really kicked off with a bang. And we can see a really good developmental track throughout college for Tre Harris. His first 1,000-yard season and an unbelievable 128.8 receiving yards per game in his final season. You can also see that prototypical size and height, so 6'2", 204 pounds. So a really intriguing prospect, and you're already starting to see the way that he's going to be used in the NFL just from this profile at the beginning. So Tre Harris, as I said, is an outside wide receiver, a true X, and we can see the size, the speed, and the strength, and the great combination of the three allowing him to win on the outside and win vertically as well, as we can see from the high level of receiving yards per game and the high level of receiving touchdowns. He's a fantastic red zone threat, but able to win on the boundary. We can see that through the high point ability, definitely that basketball background coming through, which is a real trope that we saw with players like Jimmy Graham every time they scored a touchdown, over the top of a DB. And he's also a really good hands catcher. So something I always worry about with these contested catch and physical wide receivers when they come into the NFL is that they've been able to physically dominate everyone in college, but then they get into the NFL and suddenly that athleticism is at the same level as everyone else. So they're not able to dominate in the same way, and they struggle when they're not great route runners and when they're really primarily body catchers. We're seeing that with Quentin Johnston at the minute. We saw it with N'Keal Harry a few years ago, but I don't think Tre Harris fits into that. The thing I was really impressed with when I watched him was his route running. I think, it's a very limited route tree, partly due to the Ole Miss offense and partly due to the kind of player that I think Tre Harris is. But I think there was definitely really solid route running ability compared to what I was anticipating coming in when I, knowing the kind of player that I was going to be watching. So I definitely think this is the kind of thing that's going to lead to him being able to succeed in the NFL. That combination of the raw athleticism and that physicality, but also he's a good route runner, especially for someone his size, and is able to catch the ball away from his frame. So that should mean that it translates very well to the NFL. While you're here, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. There is so much rookie content coming your way, 50 rookie profiles in 50 days, and I hope you'll be a part of that journey with me throughout this offseason. So some of the weaknesses of Tre Harris's game, I mentioned that extended route tree. Again, part of this is just due to the Ole Miss offense. That's the way that they tend to run. This has been the case with the receivers that we've seen come in the last few years that we've thought, okay, I'm not 100% sure that they are able to run every single route in the book, but they've dominated the ones that they've done so far. The two main things that I think are a slight issue for me with Tre Harris, he lacks top-end long speed. Now, that's not necessarily his game, is to separate over the top. It's to obviously win one-on-one. So it's not just about getting past corners, but it's about winning with physicality when the ball comes into him. One thing that I did notice is that when he played against top physical cornerbacks in college, he could struggle a little bit with that physicality, and that contact balance was again the same thing. So if that strength doesn't really translate to the NFL, that is going to hamper him a little bit. I'm still confident in his ability to win on the outside. It was just with those very, very physical hands-on corners that you see him sometimes get out-muscled at the top of a route, or actually midway through a route as well, because he's not really separating with speed. So you could see him get out-muscled a little bit if the corner had too many hands on him. It's not something that worries me too much, but it's definitely something to keep an eye on if he's going to struggle against those really physical corners, because there are a lot of them when he's going to get to the NFL. So with that play style comparison, I've currently gone for Drake London and T. Higgins. Obviously, the physicality is going to be the main thing here. Probably more T. Higgins than Drake London, looking at someone who's able to win on the outside and go over the top of a player. But I've included Drake London because I'm very intrigued to see if there's a chance that a team can morph him into that power slot type mold, something that we're seeing people talk about with Rome Odunze coming into Ben Johnson's offense at the moment. Can you use him as a very physical underneath weapon and use that ability to win and those decent route running chops compared with like above average size going against linebackers and safeties to create some mismatches? I'd be very intrigued to see that. In terms of his draft value, he's actually dropped in terms of mock draft databases consensus wide receiver rankings. He's currently the wide receiver 6. I think he's going to probably be between the wide receiver 3 and 5 range, but as you'll see when we get later down the line with these videos, wide receiver 3 is really up for grabs. He's currently projected to go at 51st overall. I've got him as late first, early second. And then a lot of these wide receivers outside of Ted McMillan and Luther Burden, I'm going to have the same range in terms of where I think they're going to go in rookie drafts, as you can see below, because I think they're really going to be vying for sort of wide receiver 3 to 4 status. That's going to be really different in every single league that you draft in. Tre Harris, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see get overdrafted both in the NFL draft and in rookie drafts, because a lot of people like to target those alpha wide receivers. So I can potentially see him climbing up to wide receiver 3 if people in your league really just want an absolute alpha X at the position, if that's the kind of person that they like to scout. So that's Tre Harris, the next wide receiver in my scouting profiles. Please make sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment down below for the player that you are most excited to hear me talk about in these upcoming episodes. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. Have a great time, and I will see you next time.